What would you do if Elon Musk slid into your DMs and told you that you were his soulmate? Today, we're diving into the wild world of celebrity romance scams and the YouTube documentary Elon Loves Me, a story that proves dedicated scammers can use a profile picture and a few emojis to trick people all over the globe into believing that they are engaged to a billionaire. These scams are equal parts hilarious, heartbreaking, and terrifyingly easy to fall for. So hide your wallet and turn up the volume because we're going to talk in detail about how these scams work, why smart people get pulled in, and how to spot the red flags before you're accidentally financing a fake billionaire's urgent crypto emergency. You're listening to Real Stories, Real Problems with Rachael and Roxanne.
Hi, Rachel. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Roxanne?
This documentary was so funny and so tragic at the same time.
Yeah, it was so sad that I couldn't laugh at how funny it was.
I know I felt guilty about being amused as well.
Yeah, it was sadder than I thought it was going to be. Like I went into this being like, how stupid somebody thought Elon, but no, she really thought he was in love with her
Right.
to the point to where she upended her life, divorced her husband, packed her things to go move to California with a billionaire whose voice she never heard over the phone.
Yeah, it reminded me of a friend of one of my other friends who thought that Neil Diamond was in love with her. And yes, and so she flew out to California where Neil was allegedly waiting for her. And what was waiting for her was the FBI because she had been sending all these stalkerish, notes to Neil saying,
Oh my
we'll
God.
be together forever. It was, again, it was both funny and sad because to these people, like, these parasocial relationships with celebrities or even YouTubers or influencers can be very dangerous and very sad.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. But this documentary, it was very recently released. This was in 2025. And you want to tell us what was going on in 2025?
Sure thing. Okay, the first American Pope ever, Pope Leo the 14th, was installed. We had the first commercial lunar landing, and that was by Firefly Aerospace, and it was successful. Donald Trump pardoned over 1,500 people involved in the January 6th riot at the Capitol because, of course, he freaking did. And a nice one, a giant squid was observed in its natural habitat and was very, very happy.
Yeah, that's the first time they ever got any kind of film of a giant squid.
Yeah.
Up until that point, we just knew they existed because their corpses would watch up and we'd be like, what the fuck is this?
I'm convinced that it was actually Cthulhu
Ah.
that they found.
Oh, but yeah, so that's what was going on in 2025. And the other thing that's going on is these celebrity romance scams just continue to ramp up and get worse and worse. Celebrity romance scams cost Americans $672 million in 2024 alone.
Oh my God.
So,
Oh my God. I did not know that.
like, this is a serious deal. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Report, these romance scams and confidence frauds, they were called, resulted in just shy of 8,000 victims over 60 years old with, so many millions and millions of dollars lost. And like they even break it down by the state. In Utah, for example, 91 victims reported $2,851,906 in losses. So like this is something that the FBI is very heavily aware of.
Yeah.
That's going on. And we are seeing just insane numbers of people who truly believe that celebrities that they've never met, that they've never interacted with in any way, are falling in love with them.
I know. Yeah, it's absolutely tragic. I mean, I remember in my parents' day, the thing was movie stars. You would send them and ask them for autographed pictures. And that would be the end of it. You'd get the autographed picture from their studio. And, it's not from them, obviously. The celebrities, the movie stars never actually saw the fan letters. But with the advent of the internet and sophisticated AI, Now it's a lot more believable.
Yeah. Oh, I remember being like, God, it must have been fifth or sixth grade. I was very young. I set my $8.95 and self-addressed envelope to Mark Paul Gosselaar, and I got a signed photo, but clearly he was not the one signing this. This was done by like a stamp or a cleaner.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So like we've always had these relationships with or parasocial relationships where we feel connected to somebody because we have seen their work. And like this has been a thing that's always happened. The Beatles have to run away from, these teenage girls who are going to literally rip them apart.
Exactly.
Like it's always been a thing.
Oh, it's like I'm currently in a parasocial relationship with these YouTubers. I know it's really funny because whenever I type something in the live chat and during their live streams, and then they answer me, like I'm like, oh my god, like these people don't even know if I'm a man or a woman.
Well,
It's fun.
yeah, and I mean there is something to be said for being able to interact with a celebrity in small ways in that way.
Yeah.
And even like this is quote unquote celebrity here. This is not like people that if they were walking down the street they would get asked for an autograph. This is people like on YouTube.
Even know what these guys look like.
But so it's one of those things where our brains are not wired to know who people are and all about their lives and all of this stuff without ever actually interacting with them. Evolutionarily speaking, humans weren't designed that way.
Right.
So it makes sense that some amount of people would have that kind of messed up understanding of what their relationship with that person is.
Sure.
But yeah, celebrities have always ended up with stalkers, and it still happens today. Last year or the year before, some weirdo who was convinced Jennifer Aniston is in love with him drove his truck through her gate to get into her like gated home. And she had to call the police and have him hauled away. But it was like the fourth or fifth time he'd gone stalking her.
Oh, I mean, you can trace this back even as far as 1981 when John W. Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan because he wanted to impress Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jodie, who was attending Yale at that time, had no idea this was going on because, again, fan letters never actually reached Jodie. They were taken care of by her PR people, by her studio, and so she was just as shocked and horrified as anybody else was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is now becoming an issue in elderly communities with senior citizens, especially in a way that it really wasn't much before. Like the FBI even states that like in 2024, we had what was it? More $672 million
Right.
worth of loss. Almost 400 million of that, $389 million of that came from victims over the age of 60.
Right.
And so this is now reaching out to people who don't understand what you can do with technology. And we're going to get into this story. This is a story of a woman named Betsy and her husband, John. And Betsy, became convinced that Elon Musk was in love with her. And the title of the documentary is Elon Loves Me because that's what she was saying to people. And that's something that should have been a flag for her.
Yeah. And it's funny that the phrase Elon loves me has now made its way into the cultural zeitgeist of today, that whenever somebody gets a scam, they go, well, Elon loves me.
Yeah.
So it's become like a cultural thing, a pop cultural phrase.
But one of the starting points of this issue for Betsy, because as they go into the documentary, they kind of talk about all the different things in her life that led her to this point. But the starting point of this was she did what every other 62-year-old, 63-year-old woman across the country is doing. She saw a contest, quote unquote, air quotes, online that if you win, Elon will drive a Tesla to your house and personally give you $100,000.
Which is like change in his sofa cushions for him.
So she gave her name and her email address and her phone number to this contest. And oops, she didn't win. But all of a sudden, now all these scammers know she likes Elon.
Right.
They know she's willing to give her
Right.
information
A little
online.
available. Yeah.
And so they reached out to her and said, "Hey, this is Elon. And I saw that you entered my contest, and there's just something about you that I had to
Yes.
reach out and get to know you." And she ate that up. Like, she really believed when she got that text message that it was Elon because she thought he was the one
Wow.
running this contest.
It's logical that she would think that and fall for that because she'd been married to John for 43 years. There was intimated that there was a sexual dysfunction at this time, and he just simply wasn't paying attention to her as a woman. And that's what got Elon loved her. Elon didn't care that she was 60 something years old and, married. And it was very romantic for her. It's the way that romance books are. The billionaire falling in love with the common woman.
There are a number of romance novels where a billionaire falls in love with you, or a pirate kidnaps you and takes you
Yes,
away,
yes.
or like somebody who is big and important comes and rescues you from the doldrums of your day-to-day life. And all of these are fantasy novels, but
They're wish fulfillment.
they're wish fulfillment. But the fantasy is, what if somebody saw me and thought that I was valuable? What if somebody important saw me as more than someone who puts a casserole in the oven every night
Yeah.
and saw me as a valuable person, an
Right.
individual, and thought that I was worth kidnapping to take on their pirate ship or to, bring to live with them in their mansion in California? It is when somebody is falling for this in this way, it is almost certainly because they feel invisible,
Yeah.
that they
There's
feel
something lacking.
that nobody really sees them or loves them or cares. Even if, like, Betsy has been married to John for 43 years. They said multiple times throughout this documentary, and this man basically stopped seeing her.
Yeah.
And she mentions at one point that this came out of the entire reason she answered this contest in the first place was because her husband was playing around on his phone literally every night. He would come home and sit down on the couch and be in his phone until he went to bed.
Right.
And she would say, "Hey, put your phone down and talk to me." And he would put it down for a second and then pick it right back up.
Yeah.
And that he basically said, "This glowing square in my hand is so much more important to me than you."
Yeah.
And so she was like, "Fine, if you're going to be on your phone, I'm going to be on my phone." And that led to this.
Right.
And that, not to say that this is John's fault, because she still has responsibility and agency as an individual. She should not have fallen for this. She certainly, at the point when, even if she thought this was Elon, at the point when he was like, "Hey, can I have some money?" That should have triggered for her.
Exactly. Gee, the guy who's almost a trillionaire. Let me look up and see how much Elon is worth. Just talk among yourselves. Okay. Elon's is worth anywhere between 600 and 700 billion dollars. That's well on its way. He's well on his way to becoming a billionaire. I'm sorry, a trillionaire. I'm just staring at this in disgust. No human being should have this much money, and no human being with this much money should have to get $100 off a poor housewife. I mean, but why didn't you? I wanted to shake her. I really did. I wanted to shake her and hug her at the same time.
Yeah, there was a lot of that feeling like, I feel so bad for you, but also, what's wrong with you?
Oh, exactly. Oh my God.
Yeah, and so as she enters this contest, she gets the messages from, fake Elon, and he's saying, I love you so much. They're texting every day. She says that she wishes they could talk, but he's excuses that he's too busy. He's putting rockets into space and he's running these businesses and he's, I don't know, looting the government.
Right.
Their parts.
There's like nothing going on.
And so he's too busy to get on the phone with her or do a FaceTime with her. But he loves her so much and he's happy to text with her all day long.
Yep.
And so she's drawn into this, and then surprise, he needs money.
Yeah, what a freaking shock.
And so he tells her, or the, fake Elon tells her that when he starts a new project, he likes to self-source that. He doesn't want to take that money from his own stuff because, whatever lie he made up as to why that would not be a good idea.
Right.
Or I don't know why the bank wouldn't loan him the money, why it didn't occur to her for that.
Right, exactly.
But so he needed from her, and it starts with small amounts of money, a couple $100, then it ends up being like $1,400-$1,500. And then at one point, he gets her bank information and takes $8,000 out of her bank account. And she had to have given him that information.
Of course.
And it never occurred to her, why would this man with all the money in the world need this money from you? And most women I know, even if they bought into this being Elon, the second they sent him $100 or whatever, and they were like, I don't know if he needs that. Their next step would be, oh, hey, babe, I'm at the urgent care and I need to pay my copay. Can you send me some money? And when he did send anything back, that would have been the end of it.
Right.
So a lot of people I can see getting sucked into this a little bit and then cutting it off the second that they're not getting anything in return.
Right. There's no return on their investment.
But Betsy didn't even ask.
No. Betsy just gave him money hand over fist. It's unbelievable.
And she's like pawning her jewelry to send this to Elon. And she ends up filing for divorce because she's convinced that she and Elon are engaged. He's asked her to marry him.
Right.
And so she has to divorce John so she can go be married to Elon and live in his mansion in California with him.
Elon is going to show up at the door in his Tesla with his $100,000. And because fake Elon even told her, don't bring a lot of stuff because you can buy everything you need, out here. But it turns out she did try to bring a lot of stuff. There was boxes and boxes and boxes piled by the front door. Of course, she's a hoarder on top of everything else. That's another sign of insecurity and fear.
Yeah. And as we're doing this and we're kind of looking around her house and we're seeing this, she and John were not impoverished. They live in a huge, lovely home in Collin County out in, the suburbs of Dallas. They have enough money to be set and okay for the rest of their lives. It's very clear just looking at the lifestyle they live. Had she not been funneling money to fake Elon, they would have been fine.
Yeah.
So it's not that she was impoverished and needed this money. She wasn't going after, this is the only way I can provide for myself to hook up with this guy.
Sure.
She just was willing to throw away everything she had for the potential for love.
Right.
Is what she was looking at. And so everybody in her life is not aware of this as it's happening. And then when she files for divorce, her husband, John, reaches out to their son Brian, and says, so your mom is leaving me for Elon Musk. And Brian is just like, no, what?
What's happening now? What, Dad? Oh, my God.
And he's talking about his mom was brilliant. She was so smart and funny. And on top of it, his whole life, that he never would have expected her to fall for something like this.
But it was an emotional scam as well.
Yes.
It wasn't just give me money. It was these people just weaseled their way into this woman's, like you said, slid into the DMs and just started hammering and hammering and hammering. And of course, when you're getting flattery, especially when you're past your prime, and that with every year you age and every pound you gain, your pool of admirers gets smaller and smaller. And here the richest man in the world shows interest in you, even if the back of your reptilian brainstem is saying, this isn't right, this isn't normal. That frontal lobe, man, that's raking in the limbic system that loves all that emotional stuff. It's terrible.
Yes. And so at this point, her son and her husband sit her down and they're like, why would the richest man on the planet need your money?
Mm-hmm.
And her response is she fucking hit that. Like, pull back, right hook, right to the face.
Like aggravated assault hit that. Yeah.
And so her daughter is listening on the phone because she can't be there in person.
Right.
And as she starts hearing her dad and her brother screaming and that they're being hit, she hangs up, she calls the police, and Betsy gets arrested for assault.
Yeah.
And they They take her into custody, and this is where I think there's more to this scam than any of these people were aware of.
Right, right.
Because when she's in jail, all of a sudden, her husband, John, and Brian get a scam call that your wife has been arrested. We're the Collin County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
If you will send us $3,400, we will let her out of jail. And so they pay it.
How bail works.
But they know she's been arrested, and so they pay it. But the only time ever in their whole lives that they get this particular scam that your loved one is in jail is when she's actually in jail. I would bet they have an Alexa, and that the scammer had somehow tapped into the Alexa and heard about the arrest.
That's a brilliant deduction. Yeah, makes sense. Because everything is recorded. When your Alexa is on, it hears everything in the house, including TV shows you're watching, what music you're listening to.
Yeah, so there had to have been something that these scammers knew what was going on. Because when she ended up in jail, they immediately hit up the family for more money. And then after they paid the $3,400, and then they got another call saying, okay, so it's going to cost us $2,000 to drive her back to your house. And that's when they were like, let me call the sheriff. And the sheriff was like, we don't do that.
Right. That's the thing law enforcement does.
That's not us. And they were like, oh, crap. So they gave money to these, what I'm thinking is probably the same scammers, for this yet an additional scam to go get her out of jail.
Thing is also, you know that Betsy is not the only one these scammers are targeting at the same time. Even though they're like nickel and diming them, if you have dozens and dozens of marks on your list, of course they're making tens, possibly $100,000s of dollars.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And throughout all of this, Betsy is furious that nobody believes her. She is so angry that everybody is saying, why would Elon want you? Why would Elon want to be with you? What is it you bring to the table that is making Elon love you so much? And her reaction to this is angry and violent, which, one, goes back to the fantasy of, what if somebody saw the value in me?
Right.
And two, kind of indicates to me that she may have suffered some kind of neurological something, whether it's stroke or something.
A TIA, something a little weird.
So going from being a smart, responsible, respectable woman with a husband who loves her and that, like, this house, to I'm going to believe Elon Musk when he slides into my DMs as so much that I'm going to fist fight my family. The people who love me and
friends that are actually here in the room with me that I've known for decades and decades.
Yeah, that should be a sign that somebody needs to take Betsy in for an MRI or a CAT scan. They need to talk to a neurological doctor. They need to talk to a psychiatrist.
I was just going to say that a psychiatrist needs to be involved in this.
Because clearly something is wrong. And whether that's a stroke or whether that's something else or whether, but there's something that changed in her brain that made her capable of falling for this, that made her capable of physically attacking her husband and her son. Like, this is not normal.
No, it is certainly not.
And so at this point, she's getting out of jail. Elon tells her he's coming this weekend, so she's packing all of her stuff. And then was it at this point that we found out that she had agreed to be on this show? At this point, she has agreed to be a part of this documentary.
Right. This is what she actually told the Catfish team. We never mentioned this. This is an episode of the TV show Catfish, where this sort of thing happens all the time. So Betsy tells the Catfish team that it would be ruinous if Elon is real, and asks the team not to air the episode because Elon might learn about it and break up with her.
Yeah. And so the team tells her, look, if it turns out he's real, we won't air this. We'll destroy the footage. Nobody will ever see it. And she says, okay, that's fine. And
wait, Elon, oh my God, Elon has nothing better to do than sit around and watch Netflix. I mean, and then she also says that he's a very private person. No, he's not. He's on TV 24/7. He's not a very private person.
No, he's the opposite of a private
Right.
person to the point to where he shares his Grok searches
Yeah.
and things on formerly known as Twitter. He puts everything out there and everything is available. And the reason he went from being someone who was like well respected and considered kind of a genius in his field to being kind of a chuckle fuck
Yes.
is because he wouldn't stop putting his personal stuff out into the media.
Button popped off my shirt today. I need to go to get another one. Yeah, absolutely.
Like just everything that he said, he went out and put himself out in public to the point where everyone realized, oh, he's a moron.
Yeah.
And so he's the least private of all of the billionaire celebrities.
Yeah.
And so for her to be like, he's a very private person tells me she knew nothing about Elon
Right.
going into this. She just knew the name.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so she's dealing with this, and the catfish team says, okay, we're coming. We're going to sit down and we're going to walk you through
Right.
how we know whether or not this is Elon. You'll be there and we'll go through this whole process. And the catfish team is this lovely young lady and this muscly dude and this other guy.
This
and then
nondescript guy that I can't even remember. This.
yeah, he sat in the back seat of the car. That's what I remember.
Right.
And camera people and whatnot. And so they're coming out. They're flying out to her house from California.
Right.
And they've done some digging and they've tracked down some packages and some money that has been sent. And they can tell it did not go to Elon.
Yeah.
They know where it went and it was not anywhere near Elon.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point they're starting to calculate everything up. And they figure out that she's given him more than $10,000.
How do people that age on a fixed income even have $10,000 in one lump sum to do that?
Well, it wasn't one lump sum. It came out in like little, hey,
Increments over that.
and then at one point they grabbed her bank information and were stealing directly from her.
And she wouldn't even have known it.
Yeah, so she was maybe not aware. She thought she had given him about $1,500.
And it's possible that because she was elderly, she didn't do online banking and wasn't able to check her bank balance 50 times a day like you and I do.
Yeah.
You know, she probably was like, oh, the bank is doing what it does. It'll protect me, blah, blah, blah. No, not so much.
Yeah. And so as they are flying out, like literally the day before the catfish team flies out, her divorce is finalized. She and John are no longer married. And she's sad about it. John is sad about it. But Betsy still doesn't want to stay. Like she is fully committed to the I'm moving in with Elon. This is what I'm going to do. And poor John, like
delusional. She was absolutely. I think some mental illness was also involved, as well as any neurological problems. You know, or maybe the neurological problems exacerbated the mental illness. You know.
Yeah. And it was so weird because for me, I would have expected both John and Betsy to seem more upset about this divorce and this descent into whatever insanity is going on here. But neither of them ever seemed tons of upset.
Right.
And that could just be that they're holding it together because there's cameras and that, that's what we're seeing and all of that. But I just was shocked at how little they seemed bothered by. And John the whole time is like, well, she wants to be with Elon and I can't convince her that Elon is not real.
No.
And at no point is he like, okay, my wife has had some kind of mental break. Let's address this. It's just, what am I going to do? If she wants to be with Elon, she's going to go be with Elon.
And unfortunately, that generation doesn't see the benefits of psychiatric help. It was, if you have a problem, you talk it out with your family and maybe drink. That was pretty much it. And I often wondered after seeing this, what would have happened in that household the longer Elon did not show up? Would she get it was kind of like Miss Havisham,
Yeah.
Is she going to sit there in her wedding gown for the next 30 years, looking out the window pathetically, waiting for Elon to drive up in his Cybertruck or whatever? Because that would be an incredible psychological blow, an emotional blow.
Yeah, and so the catfish team sits her down and they're going through like so let's talk about where is Elon right now. It says, I don't know. And they said, well, there's an Elon tracker. You can see exactly where Elon is.
That is
And
Elon tracker.
she had done no research into this. She had done no looking, no searching. She, I don't think, wanted to know.
Oh, no, you're right.
Because if she had been even the least bit curious about where is Elon? Elon tells me he's in California today.
Right.
Let me keep up on news about what's going on with Elon. She did nothing.
Right.
And so then they're like, well, why has he never called? And so she's like, well, he can't. Why would a multi-billionaire bordering on trillionaire need your money? Well, he has his reasons. And like, it became so very obvious that she needed this to be real.
No.
And it didn't matter if it was real or not. She needed it.
That validation.
And so, at this point, you and I are bouncing back and forth with, what neurological condition happened. And so then they figure out that the number that's texting Betsy is a grifter. It's a woman named Connie. And so they tell her, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send a message to Elon from your phone saying, hey, I'm going to come out and be with you. Here's a flight I found on, from DFW. Does this work for you? And they sent him the link so that he could click it, and that way they could track him. If they could get him to click that link, they could track him.
Right.
That would track the IP address of whoever this actually was.
Yes.
And so they're sitting down and they're going through all this stuff, and they say, okay, we're going to come back tomorrow. We'll bring all of this evidence and we'll have this conversation. And so they go back to the hotel, they go to sleep, and on their way back to Betsy's house the next day, the nondescript guy in the back said, oh my God, Elon is in Texas right now. He's giving a live presentation about the shareholders of Tesla. It's being broadcast live on YouTube.
Right.
If we can get her to text him and get a response while she's watching him live on YouTube, she will know that this is not him.
Right.
And so they come up with this plan, and they are successful. Like they send the text, and as they're sitting and waiting for the text to come back, they're showing her on the screen that somebody clicked that link that she sent about here's the plane I'm going to take.
Sure.
And the person who clicked that link was in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Not in California, not in
Texas.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
And so you can see kind of at that point that it takes the wind out of her sails. And then as she's watching this live broadcast, her cell phone pings with sure, I've got plenty of time to talk, babe. And so she's you can see kind of the moment she transitions from Elon loves me to this is not Elon.
Right. And it was so abrupt, and I felt so bad for her. But obviously she needed this forceful wake-up call. Nothing the catfish people were saying was sinking in.
Nothing her husband or her son was saying.
Right, exactly.
And it is surreal to me that it took this level of intervention to get her to even look into it. Like, I think I don't know, are you familiar with the stand-up comedian Bill Engvall?
The blue collar comedy?
Yeah, here's your sign, guys.
Yeah, here's a sign. Yeah.
So in one of his stand-up comedy specials, he talks about his grandfather and his grandmother had died like the year before, a couple years before. And his grandmother, in the lead up to her death, had started going a little loopy. And at one point, Meals on Wheels did not show up right on time. They were like half an hour late with her lunch. And she called the police because they were late, and she just was old and wasn't putting it together. And so he thought it was going to be a funny joke to call his dad and be like, hey, so I'm from the sheriff's department and we need to square up with the cost of it. And so he calls his dad.
Right.
He calls his dad, his voice dad, on the phone. He's not disguising his voice. And he's just like, so hi, I'm with the, whatever county sheriff's department. This is what's going on. And his dad's like, okay, well, how do we square this up? And he's leading his dad into how much money he's going to give him.
Right.
And he's playing it up for laughs. He's like, well, depending on what they had for lunch, if she had like soup, it would only be $5. But if she had like a full sandwich and full of meatloaf and whatever, that's obviously going to be like a $20 cut.
Right.
And so his dad just keeps going along with it. And finally he says, Dad, it's me. And his dad yells, you go to hell. And hangs up the phone.
Oh, God.
But
yeah.
there is something about what happens to your brain as you age, because Bill Engvall is doing this special in his 50s.
Yeah.
He's 55, 60 years old. So his parents are clearly going to be in their 70s.
Right. Easily.
And so they're talking about the death of a 90-year-old woman 2 years before. So his parents bought into this. He could have, if he had been a scammer or unscrupulous or whatever, he could have just started having them funnel money to address this problem that wasn't ever a problem to begin with.
Right.
And they just went with it.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to them to question it. And so Betsy is clearly like in that situation, and her husband is clearly like, I don't know how to question this. I don't know how to. At no point did anybody actually try to look any of this up and like show her the documents. And even like the Elon tracker is amazing. And I love your note you wrote. Is it like NORAD Santa tracker?
That's what I thought.
But yeah, a couple of years ago, some kid created a tracking system that tracked Elon's planes everywhere they went.
Right.
And Elon was like, hey, can you not? That's a security that's a security issue for me. And the kid's like, yeah, well, I want to. And he's like, how about if I gave you a job? Would you take a job? And he's like, I really don't want to work for you.
You're a dick. I don't want to work for you.
And so they go back and forth. And eventually what's decided is that there's a 24-hour delay.
Okay.
He can release all of this information, but it has to be 24 hours later.
Okay.
And that's kind of what's settled on, because he's a very public figure. All of this is trackable public information.
Sure.
He can't be like, no, this is illegal, because it's not illegal.
No, it's not.
He just kind of has to deal with it. But yeah, so they're dealing with this, and had she been even the least bit curious,
right,
she could have found the Elon tracker. She could have gone and looked up his stuff. She could have seen he was married to oh, what's her face with the long dark hair, the one who just had his baby.
Oh, I can't keep track of those.
Yeah.
Things.
But he's got 13 kids with like 10 different women, and going through all of this stuff. She did no research. She did nothing to try to verify that this was real. And I think part of that is because she wanted it to be real. And if she did the research, she understood it would not be.
Right.
So she needed to not do the research, because otherwise she had to let go of this fantasy that Elon loved her. And
was it Tallulah Riley? Is that the wife's name?
No, it was
Justine Musk?
No, it was, but yeah, and I mean, they may not have been married. They may have just had a relationship, or she lived in his house and birthed his children, and but there was proof enough that he had plenty of female companionship.
Oh yeah, he's not wanting for lack of female.
And so he was not in need of the 63-year-old lady in Texas to be his paramour. That was not a thing he needed. And so as they're, going through all of this, and she is now fully convinced, she's rolled over and she's like, you're right. It was fake. I was scammed. And she's starting to like reach out and be a little bit physical affectionate with her husband. She's like touching the side of his leg, and like when she reaches out and strokes his beard, and he's clearly not wanting her to do that. Yeah. Like takes her hand away from his face and puts it. And so she's trying to like figure out what this means, that she just blew up her life for something that wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And as they're in the lead up for this, she had told him, as they were having conversations, well, if this isn't real, are you going to step on and be the husband I need you to be, the husband that you're supposed to be? And he didn't understand what she was talking about.
It's not, because there's a severe lack of communication in that family.
Yeah, that was significant problems.
Right.
And like at one point they're talking like, can we just go back to the way it was? Well, maybe not. This is a legal thing. You guys are legally divorced now.
Yeah.
And by the decree of your divorce paperwork, you have to sell the house. You have to split the assets. Like, you either need to go and get remarried and undo this divorce, or you need to process it and go through the thing. But the whole time, John feels like he's plan B, and she feels like she's been neglected for 43 years, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with this. And the whole the whole time, like, they seem to be talking past one another.
It seems like she, as soon as the Elon scam was exposed, she immediately went right back to John, thinking it can just be the way that it was. And no, because the way that it was awful, number one. And it's like, did she really expect her husband, her son, and her daughter to forget about it? To forget about the tens of thousands of dollars that fake Elon, got off of her, and we'll just pretend this never happened, and we'll just go on with our happy, dysfunctional lives.
Well, and that doesn't even begin to address the, okay, I fell for this. There is something wrong. I need to see a medical professional. I need to, like, at no point was she trying to address this larger issue.
Right.
It was just, can we do this?
Right.
Can we go back to that? And so their relationship issues are a separate thing. This is a totally different TV show.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
But yeah, so at the end of this, I was kind of taken aback because the woman who was part of the catfish team seemed to really feel compassion for everybody that was part of this, that they were all scammed, they were all abused, they were all like this hit everybody.
Mhm.
And the big bulky bustly guy seemed really aggressively angry with Betsy.
He was. That disturbed me in a way.
Yeah, I get where from his point of view, she had been abusing her husband for as long as this thing had been going on, which is fair and true.
Right.
But his not understanding kind of why, or any of the other, like, factors that go into this, that he just had this, like, palpable anger towards Betsy, that was not comfortable.
No, and it leads you to believe what sort of relationship they even had.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some emotional abuse in there. I mean, I don't think he hit her or anything, but yeah, he had issues, obviously.
Yeah, it just was very odd, and it ended kind of on this down note of, well, their relationship is now destroyed, and Elon's not coming. At least she's not sending more money to these scammers, but that's the best we can do. And so, like, after all of that, and then seeing how many people fall for this all the time, I think it's valuable to bring up the FBI's tips on how to avoid a scam. So, first and foremost, be careful what you post and do online, because all of that information is public and scammers can use that information against you.
Mm-hmm.
That's very traditional advice. Don't post on Facebook when you're leaving town because you don't want people to know that
Your house is empty.
Don't post about, I just, bought this super expensive thing, because then that's going to go missing. And then,
And the thing that always really bothered me is it's in September. Usually parents will post, it's little Susie's first day of school. And not only do they show a picture of little Susie, but she's standing right outside her elementary school, which is easily found by pedophiles and predators. You don't put your fucking kids on Facebook.
Well, and they're holding a sign that says, this is my name, this is my grade, this is my teacher's name, like, giving all of that information to anybody who can see that picture. And, like, I post pictures of my kid on Facebook sometimes, but my Facebook is set to private, so people should not be able to access that. And I don't ever post, like, here's our location, or
Exactly. Right.
It's very weird. But yeah, be careful what information you're putting out there, especially when it seems innocuous.
Yeah.
Those Facebook games of nobody remembers their first grade teacher's last name. That's a security question for your banking.
What street did you grow up on? I see that in Facebook a lot.
Or your stripper name is the name of your pet and the street you grew up on. That's 2 security questions for your banking.
Yeah.
Don't go out there to play what's my stripper name.
Right.
And give that information to anybody who wants it.
Right.
And I understand that some of these things look like they're coming from legit sources. They look like they're being posted by, like, local radio stations or like companies for, don't give that information to people.
Yeah.
And I know it seems silly, like who cares what your first grade teacher's name was?
Mm-hmm.
Your bank. That's
Yeah,
who cares.
that's
Don't
right.
don't give that information away.
Yeah.
And only use dating websites with national reputations and assume that everyone on every dating site is a scam artist or a con artist. They're trolling looking for you.
I have a friend I went to high school with who has fallen for the trolling date websites constantly, and at least 3 times that I can remember. She's like, "Oh, this guy is cute," blah blah blah. Well, it turns out it's not a real profile. It's and then but these people do the same thing that fake Elon did. "Oh, I love you. You're the best. You're so beautiful. Can I have $14,000?"
Oh yes, I have a friend in Florida right now who lets men abuse her so badly, but she's so desperate for male attention
Yeah.
that she attaches herself to the first guy who shows up. They're sleeping together immediately. She's letting them move into her house. She's doing she absolutely has no sense of, are you hurting me or are you loving me?
Right.
And she just dives in head first every time.
Well, she has a warped framework of what healthy relationships are.
Yeah. So you have to be so cautious when you're using dating websites or anything really where you're putting in your information in an attempt to meet somebody else.
Right.
Because that just leaves you wide open for scammers.
Yep.
And anytime you are in any type of thing like this, go slow and ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who loves you within a day or two of meeting you, that is a scam.
That is a red flag.
That's called love bombing.
Yes.
It's a tactic used by abusers and online scammers. Don't fall for that.
Right.
And ask questions. And even if you get answers that seem like they're legitimate, think about it. Like, she knew Elon Musk was the richest man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And still thought he needed money from her.
Yeah.
At no point did she even question, like, in every romantic relationship, like throughout history, all of the, modern dating stuff be damned, men sent you flowers or candy. They showed up. They paid for dates.
Right. Exactly.
And she's in her early 60s. This is something that she should have had that understanding of
from before. Right.
It should have looked weird for her that she was paying for things and getting nothing in return.
Well, it's like when my grandmother showed her ankle to my grandfather for a piece of gum. If it weren't for Grandma was a hussy. She really was.
But it's just so strange that these are obvious questions. And whether it's Elon in your DMs being like, "Hey, baby, I need money." Why do you need that? Why can't you use some of your
Elon Musk,
dollars?
yeah.
Or it's a random guy on a dating site. "Hey, I can't meet you here. Can we meet in a restaurant 2 towns over?" Oh, that's an interesting choice. Do you have a wife who you can't be seen in this town with somebody else? Like, what's going on?
Right.
Like, there should be things that trigger questions for you. And that's not to say you should immediately break up with and stop talking to anybody who you have a question about them, but that there are some things that it is not worth whether or not that is real.
Right.
Like, because it is such a solid scam, like, you don't want to be a part of that.
No, of course not.
You need to research the person, their pictures, their profile, use other online search tools to make sure that it was not somebody else's profile being used.
Right.
See if that same pitch is being used on multiple victims or on multiple websites at once. So poke around a little bit. You can use reverse search engine, where you can put in a picture and it'll take you back to the origin of that photo. If every picture that you're getting from the celebrity who's in love with you seems like it came out of a magazine or like a photo shoot, and they don't have like a picture of them in a t-shirt at a barbecue in a backyard, like, that's a problem.
Right.
And if they try to separate you from your family and friends, if they encourage you to divorce your spouse,
Yeah.
like, these are things that you need to watch for.
Right.
If they claim that they work so much or they live so far away, and that they really just the distance is too much, but that they love you, that's a problem. Everybody I know who's ever been in any kind of long-term relationship, spending the time and money to get together has been an important part of that.
It is a priority, sure.
If they make plans to visit you, but they always end up canceling because of some emergency,
It
like
went wrong, right?
that's a problem.
And in the meantime, can you send me more money, please?
Yeah. Oh, I had an emergency. I need more money and I can't come see you. Like
Right,
that's
exactly.
that's a red flag.
Or if they ask you to send them money for a plane ticket
Yeah.
and pay for their travel expenses because they don't want people to track where I, the most important man in the world, am going. So we're going to do everything on your credit card under your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody that you have never met in person asks you for money, don't send them money. Don't, if you met somebody online and this, whether it's romantic or otherwise, if you get a call from somebody and they say they are the police, the FBI, the sheriff's department, somebody else, they have your family in jail, get a number to call them back. Go look up the number for that jurisdiction. Go call your family member who's supposedly in jail.
Yeah.
Do the research before you send money. Anytime somebody has a request that is urgent, it has to be done right now.
Yeah.
They are trying to make you stop thinking about the reasons why this is fake.
Yeah.
They're trying to push past you and force you to send them money before you've had a chance to think about it.
Of immediacy, which short circuits everybody's brain. Yeah.
Yeah. And if they ask for your help in moving money, if they ask, can I send you money and then you send it to somebody else? No, don't do that. If they ask to send you or receive from you compromising photos, videos, pictures of your banking information, naked pictures, anything that can later be used to blackmail you or access your money in a real way, you need to shut that down. That's not okay. If you would not ask somebody for this, don't allow somebody to ask it of you.
Right.
And if you plan to meet someone in person that you've met online, be so careful. Don't go alone.
Yeah.
Check the State Department's travel advisories and, look to see what's going on before you arrange any travel or reserve any hotel rooms.
Make sure your phone is charged and on you at all times.
Yeah.
Make sure people know where you're going. Arrange for an escape call code.
And one of the things that we talked about when we were watching this documentary is she was told by fake Elon, you don't need to bring a ton. You're going to buy everything you need here. Just show up. Don't bring a lot of stuff. And I would almost bet it was because they were going to bury her corpse in the desert somewhere.
Oh my God, I never even thought of that.
And they needed to not have all this shit to deal with.
Yeah.
And traceable things and stuff that her husband would go looking for. They needed to be able to have her come out, be murdered and corpsed up, and then be able to text her husband from her cell phone that they now have because they murdered her and took her phone.
Right.
And be like, I'm so happy with Elon. I'm never calling you or texting you again. Bye. And then they would have had every one of her credit cards, every piece of financial, anything she had on.
Oh, yeah.
They used it for months before anybody had any concept that she was dead. If you are agreeing to meet someone, don't go alone and understand that there is potential value in murdering you from their point of view.
Yeah.
So maybe
not do that.
Maybe don't.
Yeah. Maybe not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. You could very easily be kidnapped, trafficked, badly injured, abused, and at worst, or I guess at best, you could end up dead.
Right.
At best, you're left standing in an airport with your bag of stuff.
Right.
Forever.
Right. Before you get enough money to get a trip back home. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important that you think long and hard before you give money to anybody who contacts you, before you develop a relationship with somebody that you've never seen or spoken to. And I mean, even in today's world with AI, you can fake voices, you can
Oh
fake
my God,
FaceTime
yes.
images.
Oh,
And
it's so easy to do.
so it's the kind of thing where even if she had had phone conversations with Elon or a FaceTime with Elon, it wouldn't guarantee
No.
that it was actually him.
Yeah, of course.
The only way you know it's the person that you're talking to is if you are with them in person.
Are
And
you who you say you are, Angel?
well, and like at one point, my dad called me. He was standing in a bank with my mom, and he said, "Hey, I need your social security number to put on the paperwork for we're putting together our will and our trust and everything." I said, "Okay, let me call you right back."
Mhm.
And I went into my contact list and called him from his number in my phone, not just because it popped up and said dad,
Yeah.
but and I called him back and I was like, "Okay, here's the information." And he goes, "What's up?" And I said, "Oh, I just needed to make sure you weren't a scammer calling for my personal information." He goes, "Oh my God, that's so smart."
Yes.
Apparently, my brother just gave it to him.
There you go.
Called my brother.
Your brother give me money too.
What? Well, no, but I mean, your dad calls you and says, "Hey, I need your social security number to put you in the will."
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
But first of all, having made being the executor of both my parents' wills, you don't need to put social security numbers in the will. You don't ever, and that's not a thing.
Well, there's a thing you can do with the bank where you go in and you put the ID information of the people who are receiving things from you in, and they don't have to go through all of the probate shit.
Right.
So, it's assuming, God forbid, my parents are in a plane crash tomorrow and they die, I can walk into my local Chase, which is their bank, and have my half of everything
Yeah.
same day, basically.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I have a death certificate. And so they just set it up to make that easy for us as a kindness on their part. But that's sketchy. If somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I'm in a bank, I need your social security number so I can give you a bunch of money," don't just do that.
No. Oh.
Say, "I'll call you right back," and go into your contacts and call them directly from your
Perfect.
contact list to make sure that it is the same person that you thought it was.
Right.
It's just be thoughtful of if somebody is asking for something valuable, whether it's your personal identification information or whether it's, your money or don't just give that away. Do some cursory research before you actually agree to this. Otherwise, your retirement fund is going to go to this particular scammer in Nigeria, I guess.
Well, I will tell you, if Hugh Jackman ever contacts me and says he's in love with me and wants money, I will give him every bloody dime. Yes.
First of all, no.
First of all, no.
And second of all, don't say that on podcast. Now you're going to give Hugh Jackman scammers out the ass.
Damn. Scammers.
But anyway, thanks for listening to Real Stories, Real Problems with your hosts, Rachel and Roxanne. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into celebrity romance scams and the documentary Elon Loves Me. Join us again next week for a glimpse into another financial problem and a documentary all about it. If you enjoyed our show today, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us a review on your podcast app. Thanks for listening. See you again next week.
Bye for now.